Good evening. I hope you are all well. I've had a very good day today, and a first time ever in my life I've got an allergy. So this bunged up nose and my deep voice has got nothing to do with COVID-19 or the flu or anything like that. I've just got an allergy to something which I've never had before. So if you would like to send out your nice vibes to me and your healing and everything, I'd be much appreciated. Interestingly, talking about alternative therapy, holistic therapy, and all the wonders in this very special world of alternative healing and therapy, we have a very, very special guest tonight. You will find Debbie Ison to be the most articulate lady. Clarity and the way that she explained things is absolutely fantastic. You are really going to enjoy this show. And I'm going to ask her a couple of things later about a technique that she taught on a stream, and I used it myself to the most unbelievable effect. And I'm going to attempt to put Debbie right on the spot and get her to show you how to do this later on. But before we go any further, here is that very special girl, Debbie Ison. How are you, Debbie?
I'm really good, thank you. Are you well, apart from your allergy?
Oh no, it's bizarre. What causes it? Is it just one of those things, do you think?
So it can be, but sometimes what can happen is if we've had heightened emotion, sometimes whatever's going on in our surroundings can sort of get linked together. So it might almost be that there's an anchor in your surroundings, which could have happened at an earlier point in time. And for some reason, it's now been triggered.
Excellent, excellent. Hi, Leanne. You're going to enjoy this talk today. Kelly, fantastic. And there's Leanne again. Absolutely, she shared everything. So, for those who do not know about this lovely lady who's sitting in front of me at this moment in time, we have Debbie Ison. And have you, by the way, I'll ask the question first. Have you moved yet?
No, it's still rather complicated. Hopefully we'll get there eventually, but it's taking...
House moves are always bloody complicated. It never works properly. The people next door sold their house 4 months ago and they're still waiting for something to go through. I couldn't cope with it. I think I'd sooner have an allergy. Sorry about the coughs. Okay, here you go. Here's Christina, lovely lady. I think you might have met Christina at some stage along the line. Okay, Debbie, Tranquil Awakenings. Even the name evokes a calmness to seeking new adventures. Is that where it's at? Can you tell everybody about your wonderful work?
Exactly. So I started my therapy business about 7 years ago now, and I was very lucky that I got presented with an opportunity. I used to be a primary school teacher, and during my third pregnancy, I suffered some discrimination and bullying at work, and so I ended up getting signed off sick, and I had a little bit of time to reflect. And I sort of thought, is this what I want for myself and my life? And I went on a journey. I decided, no, it wasn't. Instead, I wanted to be a therapist. It's something that I'd always wanted to do, but it was one of those things that I thought, I'll do it when the children grow up, when they've left for university, got married, whatever it was. But instead, I decided I needed to start taking my own personal journey and look after myself and create a new career for myself. And that's where Tranquil Awakenings was created.
And you started off with, was it hypnosis for a start off, or was it Reiki? Where was the foundation made?
So I think the foundation started a few years before I became a therapist, and that was through learning Reiki. So I didn't really know what Reiki was when I started it. I just felt an urge to do it. So I turned up on this lady's doorstep, Di, my Reiki master, and she attuned me. And then I started taking on board that self-healing and started to think about therapy as a career. So when I was pregnant, I then decided to retrain as a hypnotherapist, and that's where my professional career started.
Debbie, do you think there was a stage where you, because of your immense intellectual capacity, which is undoubted as a teacher and all of the incredible degrees and things that you've got, did at some stage you have some form of intellectual conflict with this esoterical ideas?
Definitely. I think all the way through I have. So with the first degree Reiki, it seemed so abstract and so strange. But then as I started to do it on myself, I started to get well. So I was always one of those people that had something low level, a low level cold, a low level stomach bug. And I always worried. But through working on myself, that disappeared. But at that stage, I still thought perhaps this is just the placebo effect and it's just me.
Hmm.
And as I went deeper into it and started working on other people, particularly at second degree Reiki practitioner level, I started to recognise there was something far more in this, and it was okay to be myself and explore that journey.
Interesting. I spoke to somebody, I speak to a lot of people who is an academic, and he said something to me quite recently. John said to me, what you've got to remember about science, Ian, it's not there to prove anything. It's there to test and check. So it is valid to test and check esoterical ideas, vibrational healing and all of those things. He said, we're at a stage at the moment where, unfortunately, a lot of people are using science to evidence their opinion, if you like, using confirmational bias. Do you think that's pretty an accurate statement that John made?
I think that's very accurate. And I think a lot of people have now sort of transferred the idea of science to where people would have been with religion in the past. It becomes something that science says this, therefore it is fact, when actually it's an exploration, it's a discovery, and it's a journey. And science can only measure what it's worked out how to measure. There's still so much more to know. And I think when we have that scientific inquiry is really useful, but we need to keep an open mind as well and go on the journey of discovery, recognizing that just because we're here now doesn't mean we can always be at this fixed point. We're going to learn and discover new things.
Very interesting indeed. So when you first look at something that you're going to learn, a therapy or a psychological degree or something of that nature, what draws you to it? What is the key that says, yeah, I want to study NLP, and yes, I want to study hypnosis, and yes, I want to further my Reiki to master and teach other people? What is the actual drive behind it? Is it always self-centered, or is it a desire to help those around you?
So for me, it's very much a desire to help others around me. And I learn from every single client that I work with and every student. And it's when I have those questions that I don't quite know how to answer, or I'm not sure how to deal with something, I will go searching and exploring for new ways of finding the information. So, for example, at the moment, I'm on an advanced practitioner course for sound healing. That all came about because I had a 16-year-old girl working with me, and all the normal techniques wouldn't work. And I just found she was so locked up here that she wasn't able to express what needed to be released. So in the end, I used sound with her. I used a drum, and through expressing how she was feeling through the sound that the drum made, she was then able to start articulating how she was feeling, and we were able to make changes. So from that, £6,000 later and many hours of studying, I'm partway through a course on it.
Yeah. Vibrational sound healing has been acknowledged right back to the Egyptian times. The hieroglyphics actually demonstrate quite a few of these things. Like, you can very often see, if you look carefully at hieroglyphics, that there are figures holding pendulums. And of course, there's also a great aspect of colour healing involved with the Egyptians. They were truly mystical people. Do you ever have any Egyptian connections when you're looking at your work? I'm just interested in that. If you haven't, it doesn't matter.
To be honest, I haven't really explored the Egyptian side of things yet, but it's on my very, very long list of things that I would like to look at. Good.
So here we go. From your website, which is, you must go onto Debbie's website, my friends, because that will take a good hour of your life, and then you can send a few emails and have a chat with Debbie. Debbie is an extraordinarily busy trainer, aren't you, Debbie? Forever and a day. If I tell you, all of you, factually, it has taken me nearly 7 weeks to get Debbie here this evening, so you're all very privileged. Because normally she said, oh, I'm doing a training that day, or I've got a group that day, or I'm whatever it is. Tranquil Awakenings. We specialise in bespoke clinical hypnotherapy and have a track record in success with clients in a range of fields. And I think that we should also say that Debbie had also qualified in integral eye movement therapy, brainworking recursive therapy, old paid to go, kinetic shift, Reiki, thought field therapy, past life regression, and neuro-linguistic programming. Do you use them individually, or do you combine them?
So I combine them because everybody's minds are unique and their backgrounds are unique. I tend to find different people need different things. So it's all about having a toolbox of lots of different therapeutic tools that I can apply to the best impact for each individual to get them where they want to be.
Very interesting. Hi, Suzanne. Let's say a few hellos. Hi, Susanna. Lisa, who you definitely know. Stuart, as you know. Christina, I think you know. Leanne, very, very much part of our work at this moment in time. She's such a sharer, very, very interested. And she makes such fantastic contributions to all of the lives. Thank you so much for that, and really makes it happen. In fact, anybody wants to ask Debbie a question, she's here and she's now. So get those questions out. So there we go. We'll say hello to all those. So Susanna, there we go. So next question I'm going to ask is this, and we're going to go a little bit around the fields and around the fences and hedges here, if you don't mind. We'll put you to. If you listen to Debbie and I's podcasts, you'll find that they are extremely interesting. In fact, Debbie has her own page on LizianEvents news, and you'll be able to find this video on there as well as seeing it on, I think, possibly Saturday. So we're really interested with this. So Debbie, when I filmed you, recorded you at Lincoln,
Yep.
you demonstrated a technique. Now, I don't know whether I did it totally properly, but what I did was simply amazing, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So I tapped my right rib, my left rib, my throat, and my head. Was that nearly there?
Nearly there, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think I tapped my hands as well.
Yes. Yep.
So hands, right, head, heart, whatever. But I had let me tell you, I had a situation, and so I want to ask you, if possible, if you could give people an idea about this, because you demonstrated it on the stream, and I would love people to be able to see this, because I think it's one of the most useful things that I've ever used. So, as you've known me for a fair time now, and you know I don't get wound up very easily. I do have opinions.
That's good.
We'll come to that opinion thing in a minute, because that spectacular video that you pushed out today is just something very special. We're going to come to that as well. I do have opinions, but I ended up into a situation that really started to get me wound up. And because it got me wound up, and I don't often get very wound up, it frustrated me. I don't know whether I was frustrated because I got angry, or the fact that I could have dealt with the situation better. I think that's irrelevant. I think that's irrelevant to me. But what is relevant is the fact that I was having a cup of coffee and I was thinking, bastard. And going outside and going, I'm going to mow the lawn. And it was getting me, and it was making me, seriously, I know the tension was coming in. Tension was coming in. So what I did was I went into the kitchen and I made myself a very large mug of coffee.
Right.
And then I sat outside, because our house is south facing, and it was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and the sun was absolutely beautiful, and I was surrounded with the green, and I sat on the bench and sipped my coffee, and your therapy method came into my mind, and I thought, I'm going to try it. So what I did was, whether correctly or not, I'm going to get you to tell me what I did wrong or not. Well, the thing is, it didn't go wrong because it didn't affect me. And even as I think about that situation now, you will tell from your ability to watch people, it's not affecting me at all. It's just not even turns me up. So what I did was I had a sip of coffee, and I closed my eyes, and I visualized the situation in my mind, because as we've discussed, I have incredible powers of visualization. I can actually have dialogue with characters within my and I can actually get characters to talk to each other within the visualization. I don't know whether everybody can do that, but I'm so proud I can. So I reeled back in time to this situation, and I started to say, went like this, dissolve it. I don't want this anymore. Dissolve the image. And I went down this thing and dissolved it. and because of my ability to visualize, it actually started to have a mist around it. Not exactly what I was expecting. I did it for about half an hour. So I did the process, which was slow, not as fast as that. And I did it for about half an hour. And do you know something? You know, don't you, what I'm going to say? I can't even resurrect it in my imagination. I can't even put it into I can talk about it. I could write it down, but I can't visualize it. And I think anybody who's got something who winds them up, forget the situation. This system is amazing, and I thank you so much for it, because it was just brilliant. I call it tapping my heart and my head. Why did it work? What did I do? Did I do something wrong?
You did nothing wrong at all. So our bodies are an energetic system, and our minds and our bodies are completely interlinked. So what happens is, when we tend to have a feeling or emotion that is causing issues, the energy flowing around our system becomes stagnant and stuck. So what we can do is we can tap on different acupressure points, which are little points going around all these channels, a bit like circuits, to shift that energy. And when the energy is released, it releases the trauma or the issue from our mind, so that we can relax and go to a state of equilibrium again. So what was interesting is you intuitively chose different parts to tap. And the thing about thought field therapy, which is one of the tapping methodologies I use, is you use different algorithms, different points to tap for different situations. So there isn't one way of doing it correctly. It's not quite the same as what I showed you, but the principles are there, and it was probably exactly what you needed at that time.
Good. So would you just give people an idea of what they could do for themselves if they wanted to use it? Is that okay?
Of course.
I know normally people would have to spend a lot of money coming and see this therapy, but I think it's really, I think that this is the most powerful thing that I've ever used in the whole of my life. And I wished I'd have known it some time ago, to be honest with you. Hiya, Ange. This girl has been out putting out leaflets today. Apparently, there's about 10,000 leaflets gone out around Lincolnshire. The girl's on it. Absolutely fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, Kelly, really interesting, absolutely fabulous. So Debbie is going to guide you in this process.
Wonderful. So how I tend to start each day with an energy balancing exercise, because when you can keep your energy balance in check, you tend to respond in a nice, calm manner. Now, our bodies have a polarity, like a plus and a negative, just like a battery. And when our body is working correctly, the energy flows in a nice smooth circuit. But if we get stagnant, even stuck thoughts and energy, then it's not flowing perfectly. So the way we get into balance is by just down here where our little finger is tapping on the side of the hand, and it just brings everything back into balance. And what we're going to do is a triangle sequence now. So we start on the side of the hand. We then go to the top of the index finger here. Give that a tap. And then to your collarbone, which is those two bumpy bits there. Give them a tap. Then you want to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and tap your upper lip. Then relax your tongue, tap your chin. Then tongue back on the roof of your mouth and tap your upper lip. Then swapping hands to the other index finger and then to the side of the hand. And that triangle sequence just helps to balance everything out in your body. It gets everything flowing around your system nice and smoothly.
If you take anything away with you today for the whole of your day, that's the one. Fantastic.
Excellent. Can I just say there's another step to it, which I would also recommend, which lots of people don't do, is our bodies, the energy is meant to sort of crisscross. But often, because we lead such a busy life and our society is often quite logical and linear, our energy often ends up flowing homolaterally, which means straight up and down. And that can leave us feeling a bit imbalanced or out of sorts. So one really quick way to balance yourself out with that is to swap the energy from one side of the body to the other. So an easy way to do that is put your hand on one shoulder and then just sweep it across to the opposite hip. Then hand on the other shoulder, sweep across, and you just do that a few times and it should bring everything back into flowing nice and smoothly.
I wonder if that's why you have such a fantastic time when you're swimming a big distance in the sea and you're doing the crawl.
Quite possibly. That would be interesting to find out.
And you know, there we go, breaststroke. I used to swim across Swanage Bay, you know.
Oh, wow.
Send out the vibes. Get well soon. I will. Yes. Now, we've got some questions for you. We'll start off with wonderful Lisa. I don't know what on earth is being said here, so you both of you are in control of the show now. Do you use EMDR, Debbie? Find it really useful tool in the toolkit.
So I'm not trained in EMDR. What I am trained in is integral eye movement therapy, which is different. However, it uses eye movement to reprocess thoughts. So everybody's thoughts contain images, sounds, or feelings, and they have a way of being processed, a pattern. Mm-hmm. And we quite often go back to that pattern. So, you know, when you're watching somebody talk, and this is where I become a bit self-conscious, their eyes dart all over the place.
Yeah, mine do. People actually comment on it. Well, their eyes are all over the place. I think it's my imagination. I'm sure it is.
But that's because your eyes and your brain are connected, so they are accessing different parts of your brain. So what we can do is we can use a person's eye movements to reprocess and change the way a person is thinking and feeling about a situation. So this works very well with things like phobias and traumas. And all that happens is nice and simple. The person sits there with me, hands on their lap, and they follow my finger with their eyes. And I will say specific things to get their mind to access the root causes of the issues for it to then start releasing them so it can't access them in the same way anymore.
Fantastic. And here's another one for you. Ooh. Are you using meridian lines to do that?
Yeah, so with the tapping, it's based on different meridian lines and it's on specific acupressure points. So, for example, under your eye here, this focuses on the stomach meridian. So the different points that the TFT uses, the thought field therapy, is for the different meridians.
Excellent. And here we go. More complex numbers and letters. How does TFT differ from EFT?
That's a really interesting question. So TFT was the original. It was developed by a man called Roger Callahan, and that uses specific algorithms, specific patterns. So, for example, you would tap different points for anxiety to what you would say a phobia, different points for a trauma than what you would something else. Whereas EFT tends to tap all of the points in a specific sequence, and that is the same sequence a lot of the time, and you use repeated phrases for that. So there are some similarities, but I tend to find, because I'm trained in both, that the TFT is more specific and tends to shift things more quickly.
Ah, so something that strings to my mind, when somebody gets really angry about something and they start banging their hands and they start shaking like that, are they actually reinforcing the thing that they're angry with, like a reverse effect? You know, are they like chaining it to their mind by all this, will do what I say? Do you think that actually is having a reverse effect and locking that anger into their mind? Is that possible?
Quite possibly, yes. And I think the thing is, with that physiology of that clenching up, you tend to get the jaw clenched and fist clenched. That then reinforces to the mind that there needs to be something to be angry about. And then there's more of that tension and it can act as sort of a vicious loop.
Yeah,
so
very interesting.
With anger, one of the things I will tell them is to open out their hand, pull down their little finger, because when you've got your hand like that, you cannot physically clench it. So that gives one signal to the brain that you don't need to be angry. The other thing is, because we clench here, if you just bring your lower jaw forward slightly so your teeth can't touch, a bit like Bruce Forsyth, once again, you can't do the anger in the same way because you've changed physiology.
Yes. Now, when people talk to me, they often see that I've got lots of gaps in my teeth, and then my teeth are in a very poor condition. And I know, because you can see what people are looking at, and people think, oh God, you know, what's all this going on? But actually, on a bright day, you'll see that my mouth is full of metal crowns.
Oh.
And that is because I have suffered from bruxism for all of my life.
Yep.
And anybody who doesn't understand bruxism, it is when you are asleep, you literally clench your jaw so tightly your teeth disintegrate and they break. And I have had chronic bruxism for all my life. And I've tried absolutely everything apart from the nerve block injections, which I will not have. I won't have those because they really are 50-50 whether they work or not. So it is a pointless exercise, me spending any decent amount of money having my teeth fixed, because no matter what I spend, it'll be self-destroyed in my sleep. But oddly, it doesn't happen as much as it used to do. But over the years, it has cost me an absolute fortune in extractions, bridges, crowns, oh God, absolutely everything. So, and there is no answer to it. Lots of people talk about it, but we do know, don't we? This grinding can really, really affect you. Now, Lisa says, oh, hang on. The other one I find interesting, in fact, is having technique. Have you used that? Do you know what that is?
I know what the havening technique is. I haven't trained it yet. It's on my to-do list. And once again, that's really very useful because it is shifting the energy in the body and along those meridian lines and reprocessing the thoughts.
Fantastic. And says, thought you were, I love using meridian lines when I'm doing kinesiology and we use the same points. Absolutely fantastic. Have I looked at the reflexology charts for teeth, Ian? Well, many years ago, Liz and I had a wonderful friend, Linda Gray. She was absolutely amazing lady, and she was into kinesiology. She was into absolutely reflexology. She was really hot, and believe me, she used to have such an amazing effect on her clients that she really worked hard at it. And I went to see her once about bruxism, and I will tell you a little story, or perhaps Liz might. Well, Liz will reinforce it, but I'll tell you something about the potency of this lady. And she said, the best thing I think we'll go for some kinesiology, and we'll see if we can find out what the trigger is, and we'll also try some reflexology and see if we can ease it out on the jaw lines. And every time we went up to have a meal with Linda, and we just had the most fantastic time. She always said, come and have a session in my healing room, which was beyond comprehension. She got the most beautiful house and about 2 acres of land, and her husband was a greenkeeper at a very large golf club, and so the garden was absolutely beautiful. The whole thing was just tranquil heaven. And she came back to me and she said, you know, I think that this bruxism is to do with the nerves in the back of your neck and the fact that you've got such strong muscles in your neck that actually the muscle tension actually affects the nerves. When I had all of the surgery in my throat, the muscles in the right hand side were relaxed, obviously, because they'd removed all of the glands and all the other bits and pieces. I had to go that particular over those 5 operations. But oddly, I think Linda was right, because this side of my face is completely and utterly relaxed. Absolutely amazing. Now, the other thing I'd tell you about Linda, as a verification of how good she is, Liz had a couple of 3 sessions with her, and Liz was having issues with sleep and migraines, and it was a devil's own job to get to the bottom of it. So Linda came along and she did some work, and she's after the session of kinesiology, she said to Liz, I'm going to have to come back to you on this, because I found something which is I've never seen before. It's completely and utterly not within my remit, but I just need to check that this is possible. So everybody was intrigued. And we saw her the following day, and she said, do you know, Liz, that you have got aviation fuel in your bloodstream and in your body and in your tissues? Aviation fuel. And Liz said, I wouldn't be at all surprised, because at the time, Liz was a manager for a very large area, and she used to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and stand underneath massive aircrafts while they were being loaded with expensive
Wow,
bits of freight. Linda Graham did not know that.
that's
Absolutely did
incredible.
not know that. She isolated what it was, and then Liz, if I remember right, used some cleansing. I think it was, Liz will tell you, I can't remember what she used, but over a period of time, you know, it was unbelievable. And here she says it, look.
Wow,
Toxins from aviation fuel.
that's amazing.
It's fascinating when you chart the tooth to the body system and the corresponding emotions. Unfortunately, so I haven't got many left. So Julie says, very, very interesting. Great. Stuart, we teach in Reiki that jaw point is a place where we hold anger and tension. You see, there you go. Anyway, we'll press on a little bit further. Now, Debbie, this afternoon, you put out a most wonderful video out onto the internet. I have tried my damnness to download it so we could play it, but I can't. I should have been able to do it, but I can't. I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to say is, would it be possible to you to give us a brief synopsis of what you said this afternoon about this balance, different people's opinions? Because I'd love to hear it again.
Of course. So what I was saying is that with particular things that are going on in our world at the moment, I tend to be fairly balanced in my perspective, and I like to learn from people. There's no point thinking that person has a different view to me, therefore I'm going to ignore them, I'm not going to listen to them, I'm going to fight against them, because it doesn't do anyone any good. So I'm very lucky in the life that I live that I've got friends and acquaintances that have got a whole spectrum of views, some similar to mine and some very different. But I'm always happy to have those conversations and that dialogue, because there's always something that can be learnt. And I just wanted to go on really to remind people of that, particularly in the current climate, because I'm seeing quite a lot of name calling, quite a lot of extreme opinions where people become so sort of shut in their own thought process that they maybe fail to understand the different perspectives. And I don't think that that is a good way to lead our society. And I want our society to be a place where we can be more understanding and tolerant of each other, because that's how everything gets resolved ultimately.
Oh, sorry, my sound had gone. How peculiar. So, well, Liz has come back. So let me come back to it. So I was looking at the relationship between the Taliban and where they get the money, which is drugs and heroin and things of that nature. And, there are other ways of dealing with that issue. We're not going there now, but it seems to me that a lot of people, they become so dogmatic in the way they want to sort an answer out that they don't see the wood for the trees. And when I watched your video, I think that if you could just take on board that lesson, if you could just take on board the lesson of equilibrium, acceptance and understanding of other people's point of view, which in effect is critical thinking, the ability to look at both sides of an issue and work it out for yourself and see the balance is the way it goes. Here's a horror story. My daughter was abused in the street by two men in their 50s because she was wearing a mask. It turned nasty. It does, doesn't it?
And it's a real shame. And you're hearing it from all sides of the different viewpoints as well. People are turning on each other, and it really doesn't need to be that way. We should all be respectful of each other, particularly at the moment, because everybody's been in a fear state for a long time. And I think when you cut beneath all of sort of the arguments and disagreements, we're all more similar, that actually there's this fear that's been riding things, and whether you're pro or anti something, often it's being stemmed from partly a place of fear. You're fearful for yourself, you're fearful for your loved ones, you're fearful for society and the way things might go, and also from a place of wanting to be safe and belong.
Interesting. You see, do you think that people don't even understand the capacity for acceptance? Do you think that they have become so dogmatic in their thought patternings that it's not even an idea that's worthy of consideration? Do you think people say, this is my way and this is the way I'm going to be? I mean, how would you deal with that if somebody came to see you and said, Debbie, I'm just so locked in my place, I can't listen to what other people are saying, my life's not working, and I want to make some adjustments. Could you help them?
Definitely. Well, I think the thing there, what you're saying is they've come for that they've got that awareness and they obviously want to change that. There's a lot of people that are locked in, this is my way of thinking, it's the right way. And for those people, I just say thank you for your opinion and I move on, because there's no point trying to change somebody's view when they are not ready or willing to listen. However, if a client comes to me and they're struggling with that, it's going to be coaching them and teaching them a new set of skills, because I think this is something that's often missed out in the formal education system. We're not taught how to think critically, how to viewpoints, and how to find resolutions with one another.
Yeah, and conflict is a natural aspect of society, it seems, doesn't it? You know, if governments just want to go conflict route, everybody else just follows through, don't they?
Well, I think that's because it's that they're not communicating. I think often conflict comes because somebody's trying to express a want or opinion, and they're trying to enforce it on another person rather than looking at it from the different perspectives. Yeah. And I think if we were more adept at doing that, we wouldn't have that need for the conflict in the same way.
It's just a bizarre thing. I used to be, I warn you, don't go down this route. Don't go onto the Dolphin Cove Facebook page if you like dolphins. Don't. Because what you see is Japanese people dragging them in with nets and chopping them to pieces with axes, and then they are still alive when they harvest the meat. It is simply abhorrent. And I was worked with this group for quite a time, and then I said, if you want to deal with this, you really want to deal with this this mass execution of one of the most beautiful sea mammals we'd ever see. What we need to do is we need to work together and have a Don't Buy Japanese week. Do you know I was lynched almost for making that statement? Well, that won't bloody work. That won't. How can that work? Well, you know. And so the bottom line is, people are quite happy to see something that's horrific, and you know, bottom line is that they don't want to take the steps that actually may have a difference. I mean, we can start looking at the extinction thing, which I follow very deeply, as you know. I have a great deal of support for that particular cause. But in fairness, the power of the computer is just as potent, and all the people travelling all over the country to go in and make the place come to a stop, and all the police cars coming along, you know, it doesn't add up, does it? You know, it's like the electric car syndrome. If you really truly research the concept of it, sorry chum, but the bottom line is that the majority of cobalt that comes out of this for use in the batteries of electric cars is slave labor, and you actually are being part of that deal. It does not matter how much Tesla and all the rest of them try and justify what they're doing. The bottom line is they're producing a product that is involved in a very dark area where the source of the cobalt and the lithium is coming from. And I'll tell you what, anybody wants me to put together a whole evidential document about that with links properly put together, I'd be more than happy to do so. The real solution is the sodium battery, which is very, very easy to get, but it's just not as effective, because you can't turn around and say, well, this car's only got a range of 2,500 miles, 2,500 miles, and the sodium one's only got a range of 150. You're never going to sell it. But you see, I think the big issue is this. Liz and I had to go to York quite recently, and on the way up, we stopped to get some fuel for the truck, and Liz looked at me, I looked at Liz, and there was 8 Teslas all lined up, and 3 others queuing to get onto the charging thing. So we had a quick look on the internet, and I thought to myself, oh God, you know, half an hour for a boost charge, and you're thinking to yourself, I'll get soon fed up with that. You know, they're okay short distance. And of course the argument is that well, most journeys are only 10-mile journeys. Well, in that case, get yourself a bike and an electric bike and cycle yourself around. You know, different game. So how do you change people's mindset? Is it a lost cause?
Not at all. And I think the film completely escapes my memory at the moment. I'll tell you about it afterwards. I'll add it. But there's a film and it looks at sort of the black community in America, and also the Ku Klux Klan and how they were against them. And what they did was very cleverly, they brought them together over a period of a few weeks where they had to listen and share
There you go.
Others together and gain greater understanding. And I think that's what we need to be doing more in society. It's being tolerant, being submerged around people that we don't necessarily agree with and get on with, because how are we going to understand their perspective if we're always just belittling them or putting them down? We don't need to agree with something. We don't need to do anything that's unethical or unkind. But if we observe, if we interact, if we're tolerant of other people, it's how we get that greater understanding and we find solutions, because it's
I mean,
us and them. And I think we have that in us.
The reality is we have to understand the truth of moralistic and ethical values, don't we? If we've got a true understanding of what is right and what is wrong. I mean, this is Liz and I've got a very close friend who's a silk, and she has pointed out to us many times that the job of a prosecutor is to establish if the person really knew whether what they were doing was right or wrong, and if they can eke that defining moment out, which they turn around and say, yeah, what I did was wrong, then the whole of the defense collapses. Very interesting, isn't it? You know, when you look at the way of mind patterning works. But we're going far afield at the moment, and let's come back to your work. You're very, very, very busy with your training. Is there a waiting list for any particular modality, Debbie?
So at the moment, my hypnotherapy course is fully booked, and that's starting in October. And then I'm just sort of getting geared up to release my next past life regression course, which will start March, April time. And I know I've got quite a bit of interest for that already. Yes. I've got people waiting for Reiki training. And then at the moment, client-wise, I'm fully booked, and I've got a 3 to 4 month waiting list at the moment. So everything's quite busy.
And you're going to be at Newark. So people will be able to speak to you and talk to you. I remember the first time I ever met you, you didn't know who I was, but you saw me at cameras and you didn't know who I was. And I walked past and you said, "Would take one of these." And I looked at it, and it was this most beautiful little packet with sunflower seeds in. Can you remember?
I do, yeah.
Yes. And we planted them and they grew. And then we had all the situation with the lockdown and whatever, and the poor little fellows had to go along with the rest of the garden for demolition. But it was a wonderful thing, and I wonder how many people actually took those away and thought, wow, this is a fantastic gift.
Oh, I wonder. It would be nice to hear from people actually if they did take them away and plant them, and what became of them. It had that big idea to it as well, that it was about planting the seeds of change and growth within yourself.
Brilliant. Here, at least our community has found common ground, and we are all walking to a common goal. Do you know, I actually feel that is correct. Here we go. We're talking about sunflowers again, Ian. We are. We love them. Lizzie says, Newark Wellbeing Market, Ladies from Centre, and Newark Showground, first weekend of September, and looking very good. We've got some fantastic talks scheduled for that, and Debbie's there on both days, both being streamed. Stream, Debbie. Stream. So you'll be able to watch Debbie talking, whatever. If you were going to offer a little bit of advice or guidance to the people who are watching and are going to watch this live, what would it be, Debbie?
I think it's always going back to the self. So if you can look after yourself and care for yourself and heal yourself, then you become the best version of yourself that you can be. And that then has a positive impact on the world around you, whether it's your family, your friends, or the wider community. So I'd say take some time to reflect as well on the things that you do well, your successes, your achievements, and what makes you a valid contribution to society and what you can do to make the world a better place. Yeah.
Kind of wish I was standing. Trouble is, Lisa, you are a victim of your own success, working with these massive PLCs and flying around the country and training people up on a high executive level. You know, it is just one of those things, but you're always welcome, you know that, and you're always welcome if you want to just go and talk to people and the way it goes. So there we have it. Angie's, there we go. 4 and 5 of September, 10 till 5 Saturday, 10 till 4 on Sunday. Sensible leaving early. And after leafleting today, I am more certain Stafford is going to be huge for the community. Yes, I think it is. I think we've got a real cooking pot of well-being going on there. It's like I said to Claire Guichard in an interview that's coming out quite soon, and I said, I think the community were like a fantastic cathedral organ. They all pulled all the stops out, and the organ sang a most beautiful tune. Here you go. I know. Yes, you do know, don't you, workaholic? That I'm doing networking. Knew it. Looking forward to it. Absolutely brilliant. This thing, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to put you right on the spot. Switch off if you want to. Pretend that it goes fuzzy, and you don't answer. Right. One of our biggest things is getting people to share the work. They're really involved in it, and they really love it, and they talk about it. But how do you get people to share something that is of their benefit? Good question, or what?
So can you rephrase it for me slightly so I understand a bit better what
Easily,
you mean?
yeah. So we have a lot of community members who are highly enthusiastic about what we do. The difference between bringing visitors to see them and the not coming to see them is the fact that they have to holistically share and pollinate their work with other people, but there is a resistance to do it. Why would that be?
I think sometimes people get protective of their work. Sort of, there's sometimes insecurities or vulnerabilities that come up, that sometimes people get worried that they're going to have their clients stole from them, or if they give some information, people will no longer want to work with them. Where actually I think it's quite the opposite. When we're a community like this, we become stronger together. We get to share different information, different advice, and different ways of working. And I think we all get the clients we need, and we can all support each other to grow together. So I would say the more we can share and the more we can collaborate, the better we are to help one another and the wider community and the wider world.
Yes, it makes no mistake about it. You will find, in the strange world, you'll get people who loved Elvis Presley, others couldn't stand him. People who loved David Bowie, others who couldn't stand him. People who loved Mick Jagger can't stand him. We can see this all the way through. People love Apple computers. And others absolutely start talking about the ethic of Apple. Well, the ethic of Apple is that you can buy a product from Apple and you'll still be using it in its 9-year legacy. So if you buy a Mac or a MacBook Pro or whatever you buy, it will be fully functional for 9 years and it will still work after the downloads and upgrades to the iOS cease. There is no other system that does that so completely. Things are expensive, but they are completely and utterly integrated. I look at Apple actually as one of the best models for how success can work, and that's have all different products and tie them into people so they can all use them. It's a fascinating thought. But there you go. I do agree with you. I think one of the things is resistance, that people think that they might have information pilfered, or they might feel that somebody will plagiarize their work. Well, that's life. That's what it is. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care. People can take what they like, but what they might find if they copy and paste our stuff off our website now is when they whack it onto the website, it'll come up with a copyright click. So somebody who looks at it, it'll come LizianEvents, bloody beautiful piece of software, I can tell you. And I haven't done it because I'm selfish. I've just done it because I want to see how it works. I know that sounds strange, but that's the way it is. So, Anne says, this is a great community. I love how much support we've had, and I love to help the amazing group of businesses. Fantastic. Incidentally, if you're into business, have a look at Dr. Don Harradine's, have a listen to his podcasts. They're absolutely amazing. Most incredible information that would normally cost you thousands of pounds at a seminar you get for nothing. We live in an abundant world and there's more than enough to go around. Community and collaboration is the only way. Lisa, you are on the nail. And I definitely feel that as a newcomer to this community, more about collaboration and competition. I love it. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, a few minutes left. What would be your I'm going to I've never tried this before, but I thought I'd try it with
Okay.
you. What would be your material? We're going to have 4 messages: material, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. Your material message for everybody watching.
Material message is you can help yourself, you can heal yourself, you can be the best version of yourself that you can be, and you can do that on whatever level it's needed, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, energetic, or spiritual. It's just being ready to do that.
And what would be the intellectual message where we can better ourselves?
About learning. We are these amazing beings. We're on this planet for a reason, and it's to learn and it's to grow. And it's being open to that new learning. It's trying different things, having different experiences, and being open to the lessons we learn along the way.
Yeah, books are the live words of sleeping people, and they can really get into your mind, and they can really be expansive. You can go anywhere with a book. Emotional. What emotional message would you give?
I would say it's important to listen to your emotions. They are a message. They're telling you whether something is good and going well. There's something that needs to be feared. They're simply a message that we might need to make a change to create harmony within our lives.
Wonderful. And finally, what would be your spiritual message?
That we are all spiritual beings, that we all occupy our vehicles, our bodies, and we're all on our own unique journey, that spiritual journey, learning those lessons throughout our lives. And the more we can interact with those lessons, the more we develop at a spiritual level.
Absolutely. So have you any business or anything else that you'd like to mention? Where can we contact you? Where can we, I'll put the banner up, but where can we contact you? Not only here,
So you can contact me, like I say, on my website. You can also send me an email. I have got a YouTube channel, but it's been a bit sporadic at the moment with me putting things on it. Just send me a message. It's nice to chat to people and nice to interact with different people and find out your opinions. And of course, make sure you come and have a chat to me at the show at Newark. It's one of my absolute most favourite experiences, going to the shows. I love talking to all the different people that come and stand at my stand, whether it's showing them something, teaching them something, or just having a chat about their opinions, their life experiences. So yeah, please come and say hello.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much for that. So we will say goodbye. Come and meet Debbie at the Newark Wellbeing event. You will have a fascinating conversation. This is only a snippet of what you'll learn. Debbie loves being asked questions, and she likes being pushed. She doesn't she wants you to ask really deep and meaningful questions that she will guide you to find. If you want to be trained, I know a couple of people who have been trained with Debbie, particularly with their NLP work and the hypnosis, and believe you me, the feedback is nothing short of fantastic. 10 out of 10. 5 gold stars and a whole row of trophies on the top of the mantelpiece. Good luck with your move, and we'll keep you up with that. And let's just say hello to a few people. Here we go. Lovely Lisa. Lovely live. Coming to have a good chat, Debbie. Been fascinating night. Thank you. There we go. Thanks for another fascinating hour. Fascinating live. Great night. Thank you. Lovely show. Thank you. And I think we can't say any more than that. Do you, Debbie? I think we've done a good job. You have done the most wonderful job. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you to everyone for listening to us.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. You will be able to watch this, I think, on top of my head, Monday or Tuesday. It'll be on Debbie's own little section on LizianEvents News, and that's growing. There's lots of lovely podcasts on there that are really, really useful. Thank you very, very much indeed. Debbie, stay on as I leave. I'll just make sure I press the right button, because as you know, dyslexia means we press the right button, and away we go. So Debbie, thank you very much indeed.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And we will go just like that.